Clara May. Okay, Clara, you can do this. It's just a class with the hottest professor in our academy. That was all. It shouldn't be this hard to walk into the classroom, but still I found it hard to move my feet forward, knowing he would be there. Alaric Prince, the brother of my ex-boyfriend, Carter Prince. I never once thought I would end up in a situation such as this one. He should be off limits to me. In fact, off limits was too simple of a word to describe anything between the two of us. I was once very popular and respected in our academy, but all that changed when I ended my relationship with Carter. Of course, I made everything worse when I suggested my sister flirt with Carter and make him fall in love with her. At that time, I thought Scarlett would break Carter's heart, and I could get revenge on him for cheating on me and breaking my heart. Then, of course, since it's my pathetic life, everything came crashing down. The worst possible thing happened, and my sister fell in love with my ex-boyfriend. Everything skyrocketed from there. She wasn't the only one who fell in love. He also did. My sister wasn't even May anymore. She was married to him and now carried around his last name proudly. She was officially a prince. Scarlett May Prince, that was her name. Even though I initially felt like it was the worst possible thing that could have ever happened to me, that quickly changed. It didn't take long for me to realize that my feelings for Carter had disappeared. And it was all because of him. Alaric, not Carter Prince, but his older brother, Alaric Prince. He was everything that Carter was not. He was quiet and kind, protective and sweet, but he was also married. And he was married to one of the most obnoxious women I've ever met. I wasn't just saying this because I had a tiny crush on Alaric. She was a horrible woman. I shouldn't be this afraid to walk into a classroom just because he was there. I should have more of a bloody backbone than this. Besides, Alaric didn't have any feelings for me. He was still deeply in love with Nicole, even though he was divorcing her. At least, I think he was divorcing her. It's what I've heard from Scarlett, but there haven't been any confirmations so far. I knew things were rocky between them since Carter almost died while fighting for my sister. Nicole had said some insensitive shit as usual, and Alaric couldn't forgive her for it. Someone clears their throat behind me, and all the hairs behind my neck stand up. Oh no, he was behind me. I slowly turn around to look at him with my bottom lip beneath my teeth. He quirks a brow at me. Is there any particular reason why you're just standing outside the classroom and not walking inside? I clear my throat nervously. I am. I knew that my cheeks were flushed with embarrassment. I don't have an answer to give to him. Clara? He asks in that professional tone he always uses with me. I always wondered what it would be like if he spoke to me like he spoke to the people close to him. A part of me desperately wanted him to talk to me like I was a friend, or maybe more than that. I was waiting for you. I lie. For me? He asks in a surprised tone. Why? Is something wrong? I immediately waved my hand to dismiss his question. Nothing's wrong. I lie. Something was wrong. With me. I was acting stupid in front of him, and it was the last thing I wanted to do. Professor! I hear one of the girls screech behind me. Newsflash, I wasn't the only one with a crush on Alaric. All of the girls in our classroom were crazy over him. He had this sexy aura about him that made the girls go wild over him. There was this rumor that he was gaining more attention than even Carter. However, that could also be because Carter got married and is now expecting a baby with my sister. Girls knew he was off limits, but Alaric was also married and also off limits. At this point, I wasn't making any sense at all. Clara, Alaric calls my name. It was only then that I realized he'd already walked into the classroom and was waiting for me to enter so he could close the door. I quickly walked inside and sat down at a table as far away from the front of the classroom as possible. I hid my face in my book. Could this day get any worse? Clara, did you come with Alaric today? Jenna asks me in the middle of class. Why do you ask that? The two of you arrived at the same time, she says in an isn't it obvious tone. That was totally coincidental, I inform her. She smiles. Everyone here doesn't think that. What? I ask her as I look around us. Are they spreading rumors already? She nods. They think that the two of you are having an affair. That's just absurd, I hiss. What else are they saying? Some girls seem to think that Alaric is divorcing his wife to be with you. She answers me. I gape at her. This was ridiculous. If it's one thing about the people at our academy, they said the craziest things about people without actually knowing the truth. They made up their little scenarios and tried to make it sound believable. And yet everyone else was foolish enough to believe it. Miss Clara May, is there something you'll like to share with the rest of us? Alaric asks in the middle of class. My lips parted slightly, and I could feel my cheeks redden. This was so embarrassing. How many times would I be embarrassed for this day alone? No, I squeak. Nothing at all. He nods and returns to teaching. Jenna looks at me, and I can see her trying to hide her smile. This was anything but funny. It was her fault this happened to begin with. She was the one who started the conversation. I didn't want to do things to bring so much attention to myself, but in every single class so far, I did precisely that. At this point, I wasn't surprised that people were spreading rumors about me. I was constantly acting like a retard. I tried to pay attention without speaking to Jenna for the rest of the class. However, it was difficult to pay attention when my professor was the Alaric prince. How many times have I said his full name in my head for the day? I was truly pathetic. I bit my lip as he loosened his tie before drinking water. My eyes were glued to the sexy movement of his throat while he swallowed. You're practically drooling. Jenna teases me. I press my hand against her mouth to shut her up. I narrow my eyes to warn her not to say something like that again in the middle of class. There were already too many eyes on me. I didn't need to give the people another reason to talk about me. I can breathe again when the bell signals the end of class. I wait for the rest of the students to walk out the door before I get up from my chair. I notice two girls walk up to Alaric and begin to speak to him. Maybe it's something related to his assignment, or they're probably trying to flirt. Either way, I can feel the jealousy rise. Couldn't they find someone else to bother? Let's go, I tell Jenna as I attempt to leave the classroom. Miss Clara! Alaric calls out to me. I pause and turn to look at him with wide eyes. Did I somehow get into trouble again? The other two girls turned to look at me with envy in their eyes. They were upset that he'd called me over while they were still speaking to him. Can you excuse me, girls? He asks them. We can continue this conversation tomorrow after class. They nod but turn to glare at me before leaving the classroom. I'll meet you outside, Jenna says as she waves goodbye. I narrowed my eyes at her. She'd intentionally left me in the room alone with Alaric. It made me extra nervous and aware of him. Did I do something wrong? I asked him cautiously. He shook his head. I've just noticed you've been a bit distracted in class recently. Is everything okay? Are my lectures not interesting enough? I knew my cheeks were crimson right now. Your lectures are perfect, I blurred out. I have been paying attention. I'm sorry if it seems that I'm not. I tuck a strand of hair in my eyes behind my ear, and I'm surprised when Alaric seems to be mesmerized by it for a few seconds before snapping out of it. Did I imagine that? He clears his throat and moves to organize some papers on top of his desk. That's good. I was worried that you hadn't fully recovered from your injuries. I'm fine, I reassure him. I'm okay today because of what you did for me on that day. You protected me. Scarlett told me everything you did, and I'm grateful. He seems to relax a little. My heart does a little happy dance to know he was this concerned about me. All right, I guess I'll see you later today. You will? I ask as my eyes widen with hope. He quirks a brow and pauses what he's doing to gaze at me. Aren't you coming over later to see Scarlett? I bit my lip nervously. Oh yes! See you later then. I hurriedly rushed out of the classroom before I could embarrass myself further. I place a hand over my chest and lean against the wall. What was happening to me? Alaric! As soon as I got out of the truck, the first thing that I noticed was Nicole waiting at the front door for me. I didn't want to speak to her. What are you doing here, Nicole? I demand from her. I told you that I didn't want to see you. Please, Alaric, she begs. It's been so long since we last spoke. Why are you avoiding me like this? I sigh. We've been through this 1,000,000 times already. You know what you did. This marriage isn't working out anymore. I'm done trying to make it work. No, she cries. I'm not done. I'm going to keep fighting for us, Alaric. Our marriage cannot end like this. We have too many plans for our future for it to end like this. I try to walk around her, but she stops me. Are you going to let things end between us like this? I take a deep breath and try to calm myself. I never wanted things between us to end. In fact, for months, I was patient with her. I let her do and say things as she pleased, with the hopes that she would be better. However, she only got worse with time. Weren't you the one fighting for a divorce just a few weeks ago? I ask her. Why are you suddenly so against the divorce? What changed since then, Nicole? Her bottom lip trembles as she says, You scared me, okay? Seeing you turn into a monster on a full moon night and not knowing whether or not you would end up with a different woman every month made me act the way I did. But believe me, Alaric, I never wanted to end things between us. I was just in a lot of pain that you'd hid such an important detail from me before marrying me. My jaw clenched. I knew I was wrong initially for not telling her the truth. That's why I accepted the blame for months. However, eventually, it became apparent that she didn't honestly want to be with me. If she did, why did she cause so many problems for me? I'm done speaking about this, Nicole. Please step aside, I ordered her. I stayed utterly still when she threw herself into my arms. I placed my hands on her waist to push her away. Please, Alaric, she begs. Give me one more chance. Don't ruin what we had. Let me make it up to you. I can be better, I promise you. Welcome, Miss Clara May. I hear one of our maids greet her. I slowly turned around, and there she was. I never understood how one woman could be that beautiful. She has exotic, long black hair with piercing green eyes that threaten to learn all your darkest secrets just by looking at you. I'd never been this enchanted over a woman, and it bothered me. She was my brother's ex-girlfriend, and I was still married to Nicole. I shouldn't find her this appealing. She glances at me for a quick second before walking into the house. She was over a lot these past few days, especially since Scarlett has been sick due to her pregnancy. I slowly remove Nicole's hands from around my waist. Please go home now. Her eyes widen as she wipes her tears away. It's because of her, isn't it? I exhale and run a hand through my hair angrily. I can't count the many times Nicole has accused me of having an affair with Clara. She seemed to have this silly idea that I was ending our marriage for her. The truth was that I was tired of fighting for something that continuously made me unhappy. I'm not going to keep repeating myself, Nicole. I snap. I gave you enough chances to change. The things you said when my brother's life was in danger proved to me that we were not right for each other. This isn't going to work. You need to come to terms with that. I don't wait for her to say another word as I storm into the house. Please do not let her enter, I tell the maid. I don't want her to cause any more trouble. My family has been through a lot recently. I didn't need Nicole making things worse for them. When I walk into the house, I'm greeted by my parents before heading straight to my room. It was a rough day at the academy, not because of the students or other professors, not even because of the principal. It was because of her. Clara May. I couldn't focus in class the past few days because of her. And that was not a good thing, considering that I was the professor. I was the one person that was supposed to pay attention. I found myself looking at her more than once today during class. I was grateful that no one else had caught me looking at her. I knew that I had to have more self-control from now on. I didn't want any rumors to spread about Clara and make her life any more miserable than it already was. She was already having a hard time due to the entire situation with Carter. We'd all moved on from that, but everyone at the academy was still discussing it. I remove my clothes and walk into the shower. The second the water hit my skin, I felt the frustration slowly leave my body. I needed this. I stayed that way for a few minutes when Clara's image popped into my head. My eyes widened. Thinking about her while I was in the shower was dangerous territory. I quickly shut it off and walked out of the bathroom. I ran a hand down my wet face and let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. What was wrong with me? I walked over to the desk to grab the towel on the chair when my door suddenly flew open. I look up, and all the air is knocked out from inside me at the person standing a few feet away. Clara! I place a hand over my mouth to cover my surprised scream as I rush out of the door and run straight down the stairs. Why do I keep embarrassing myself like this? But more than that, why was Alaric so damn sexy? I didn't think anyone could look as good as him. In the past, I always knew Carter was good-looking while we were dating, but Alaric was on another level. He had this aura about him that screamed shh. My body shivered at the reminder of his rock-hard chest. Clara, get a hold on yourself. He's off limits, remember? What's wrong with you? Scarlett asks me as she spots me at the bottom of the stairs. Oh, nothing. I lie. Did you tell Alaric that Carter wanted to talk to him about something? She asks me. Oh no. My eyes widen in surprise. I forgot why I'd gone to his room to begin with. I'd knocked a few times and hadn't gotten a response. Then I shouted that I was coming in and still got no response. So I waited for 2 minutes before opening the door. The last thing I expected to see, he'd definitely just come out of the shower. Should I tell my sister that I saw him but forgot to mention it to him? Or should I lie and say I never went to his room? Never mind, Scarlett says suddenly. He's already walking down the stairs. I'll let him know myself. I freeze at her words. I refuse to look at him after what I'd just seen. I didn't want him to think that I was some pervert. What if he thinks I intentionally barged into his room to see him without any clothes? I could feel the blood rush to my cheeks. Was there a single day that I wouldn't embarrass myself this badly? So far, I'd embarrassed myself more than 3 times before him today. Alaric, I hear my sister say his name. Carter wanted to see you about something. He's in the study room. He asked for you to meet him there. His scent paralyzes me when he walks past me to the study room. You're acting a little weird today, Scarlett notes. Are you sure everything is okay? I sigh. I just had another rough day at the academy. Her gaze softens. I'm so sorry about everything, Clara. I can't believe they're still giving you a hard time about everything. If we could move on from the past, why can't they also? That's just how they are, I inform her. They won't leave me alone until a new rumor or scandal pops up. I'll let Carter speak to them, she hissed. It's okay, I assured her as I guided her to a chair. I won't let them bother me, I promise. I'm more concerned about your health. How are you feeling? She leaned back against the chair and sighed while rubbing her tummy, which grew more prominent daily. It's been a bit difficult. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I never thought it would be like this. I hate not being able to go to the academy with you. It's okay, I promise her. Jenna is a good company. You should know since she was your best friend before she became mine. She chuckles. Are you trying to steal my best friend from me, or is my best friend trying to steal my sister from me? I roll my eyes. No one can steal me from you. Did you happen to see Autumn today? She asks me. I nod. I spoke to her like you asked me to. And? Elsa is still hiding at their home, I inform her. I'm not sure how long they can keep hiding her. The Cage family is going crazy trying to find her. She nods. I know. Jagger Cage visited our home today. My eyes widen. He did? She nods. He asked if we knew anything, but of course, we lied to him. I'm surprised he came here, I confess. They must be getting desperate to find her. She nods. I want Elsa to be happy, but if her family finds out that the fawns are keeping her hidden, that will only lead to another battle. Scarlett was right. They would freak out if they found out the truth. For now, we had to hope that they never found out where she was. My breath hitches when Alaric walks back in with Carter. My eyes found him, and he held my gaze briefly. In those seconds, I could feel myself grow wet between the legs. What the hell was happening to me? Why did I have such a strong reaction to this man? He drags his gaze away from me to answer what Carter asked. Is something going on between the two of you? Scarlett whispers. I'm sensing a lot of tension. I shook my head immediately. Nothing at all. I assure her, there was absolutely nothing between Alaric and me. I don't think there was a chance for anything to happen either. I knew the kind of man Alaric was. He was very noble and would never consider dating a woman his younger brother once dated. He also wouldn't do anything inappropriate while still married to Nicole, even though he already filed for a divorce. That was just the kind of man he was, and I wouldn't want him to be any other way. His outstanding qualities are what drew me towards him to begin with. I would never want him to change. However, a small part of me wished that he could break the rules a little, but just for me, no one else, only for me. Clara, you're home late today. my mother says as I walk into the house. I nod. I wanted to spend more time with Scarlett since she hasn't been well lately. She smiles. I'm so proud of you for looking after your sister. I would have responded if that was the only reason I spent so much time at the prince's residence. The truth was, even though I wanted to help take care of Scarlett while she was ill, I also wanted to get a glance at Alaric any chance that I could get. I never thought your sister would marry Carter, she continues. I always thought that you would marry him. However, I'm happy that you're okay with how things ended up between the two of you. I didn't think I would like Carter after how he treated you, but I must say that I like how he treats Scarlett. I hope he keeps it up. I also was happy with how much Carter loved my sister. I was afraid at first that he was using her, but now I knew his secrets and why he mistreated me in the first place. I understood him much more than I did in the past. In fact, I was happy that Carter broke my heart. If we were still together, I believe the both of us would have been miserable. There was also the fact that I would have never realized I was attracted to Alaric if I was still in a relationship with him. I've always admired Carter's older brother in the past. Seeing the way he took care of Carter and the rest of his siblings always made me fascinated by him. I never thought that fascination would ever lead to something more. Your father told me that Alaric is divorcing his wife, my mother continues. My eyes snapped to hers at the mention of Alaric. She rarely ever mentions him. I've heard that as well from Scarlett, I say, pretending that I was the least interested in this conversation. I didn't want my parents to know I was crushing on him. It's really sad, she says. Alaric has been married to her for some time now. I don't understand why they're splitting already. Have you met Nicole? I ask her. She nods. I've seen her around, but I can't remember conversing with her. If you speak to her at least once, you'll understand, I tell her. She looks surprised by my words. I'm exhausted and must wake up early tomorrow morning, I tell her. I'm heading to my room. We can speak about this another time. I didn't want to hear anything about Nicole. Just the mention of her name angered me. She didn't deserve someone as sweet as Alaric. He was too amazing for her. Even now, I didn't understand what Alaric saw in her except for her beauty. She had no other good qualities about her. As I walk into my room, I look at the fabric on my bed. Alaric's shirt was laid neatly on top of my pillow. I walked over to the bed and took his shirt into my arms. I lifted it and pressed my nose against it. I inhaled deeply. I could still smell him. Right after Carter woke up from almost dying just a few days ago, Scarlett told me everything I had missed while I was unconscious. She said that after Fox had attacked me and I'd shifted back to my human form completely naked, Alaric had shown up not too long after. And then, like my own personal hero, he covered my body with this shirt to shield me from everyone else. I remember how shocked I was when she first told me this. I couldn't remember much about that fight, but I remember opening my eyes a few times and seeing Alaric holding me. At first, I thought it was all a dream. After all, Alaric has been in my dreams a few times already. However, when I finally snapped out of it, I realized it was indeed him. I never bothered to wash it. Instead, I kept it in my bed. It was my comfort. I would hold on to it all night and wake up the next day with it still in my arms. It made me feel closer to him. If anyone else saw this, they would think I'd lost my mind, and maybe I had lost it. I shouldn't be this obsessed with him. There was no chance of us ever getting together. So then, why was I allowing myself to keep falling for him? I've always had more control than this. While dating Carter, I've always had control, but with Alaric, things were different. He made me want to break all the rules and do anything to gain his attention. I inwardly groan and bury my face in his shirt. I was losing my mind. It was the only logical explanation for all of this. I had to find a way to control myself. I couldn't keep this up. If I kept acting like this, eventually others would pick up on my actions. Scarlett already suspected me, and there were already rumors at the academy. I had to be more careful from now on, especially around Alaric. Nicole? I angrily slammed my door as I stormed into my house. I couldn't believe Alaric was treating me so poorly. He was never like this in the past. He would usually give me everything I wanted. It's not the first time I've had nasty things to say about his family, but this was the first time he reacted this poorly to it. In fact, I've said worse things about them in the past, but it never made him lash out like this before. If he was upset with what I'd said, why couldn't he speak to me about it? Why did he have to go as far as continuing with the divorce? We've spent months with him trying to save our marriage. Now, all of a sudden, he wants to divorce me. It was not something that I could easily accept. This wasn't the Alaric that I was used to. It felt strange to see him behaving like this around me. It's almost as though he didn't love me anymore. I've never questioned his love for me in the past, but things are different now. It's been different ever since that ugly-looking girl came into our lives. Clara May. Oh, how I hated that name. I always had a bad feeling about her. I should have listened to my gut. But it's not the first time she's shown up. She's been around since she first started dating Carter. I never felt threatened by her back then. But all of that seemed to change after she ended the relationship with Carter. After they broke up, Alaric became more protective of her. I should have seen the warning signs much earlier. I was too caught up in Ace to realize that my husband was falling for another woman. He didn't want to admit that his sudden behavior change was because of her, but I knew it was all her fault. I wasn't a fool. My eyes weren't deceiving me. I knew something was going on between them. He's been a changed man ever since she started coming over to their house more often. I couldn't believe that he would betray me like this for her. What did she have that I didn't? How could he ever leave me for her? For Clara? Her beauty was nothing compared to mine. In fact, I am the most beautiful girl in Alaric's life. I had to do something before he made a move on her. I felt sick to my stomach just thinking about it. If he thought that this was the end of us, he was sadly mistaken. I was not going to sit back and let him divorce me just like that. I would fight till my dying breath to ensure he stayed married to me. I had plenty of plans for our future, and I was not going to let a woman like Clara get in the middle of it. I tried hurting her through Scarlett, but those damn Cage brothers got in the way and spoilt the entire plan. Now I had to start everything from scratch. I stare at the picture of my husband on the desk in front of me. He was not going to let go of me that easily. I would make his life bloody miserable until he realized that he needed me back in his life. If he thought I would sit back and let him be with Clara, he had another thing coming. I would do everything in my power to keep them apart, and there was plenty that I could do. I already had a few plans up my sleeve. He didn't know what I was capable of doing. There was plenty that he didn't know about me. Even now, he had no clue that I had an affair with Ace Blackner. I would make sure that he never found out that I wanted to divorce him so badly in the past, just so that I could be with Ace. I inwardly sighed. I was still hoping for a chance with him. I've been trying to get him to meet me, but he's been turning me down. I was not going to give up. Ace was the one I wanted. He wasn't a monster like Alaric was. He was sexy and wild. He made me feel weak to my knees. He wasn't soft and sweet like Alaric was. I was tired of Alaric's kind nature. He was weak, while Ace was strong and knew how to make a woman scream from pleasure. I felt turned on just thinking about him. I was planning on going over to his home once more today. If I could get Ace back into my life somehow, then all of my problems would go away. He knew I was married now, and that was my biggest problem. I had to find a way to make him feel sorry for me. In the meantime, I had to make sure that Alaric didn't get any closer to Clara. I didn't have much time to keep them apart. Clara, you're trying to impress someone today. Jenna teases me as she wiggles her eyebrows. I roll my eyes. It's not a secret that I enjoy wearing the prettiest outfits. I've been really into fashion for years, however, she was right. I was indeed trying to impress someone. However, I planned on denying it as much as possible. She quirked a brow. She could see straight through my lie. I wasn't trying hard enough to hide it. The truth was, I didn't want to hide it from her completely. I needed someone to speak to about my crush. Maybe if I confided in her, she could snap me out of it. I needed someone to give me a wake-up call. I couldn't keep being this bloody delusional. As we walk into the classroom, I breathe a sigh of relief when I don't see Alaric, even though a part of me was slightly disappointed. I checked my watch. I was too early. He would be here between 5 to 10 minutes. In the meantime, I had to prepare myself to see him again. I couldn't keep making a fool of myself in front of him. I'd done that enough. I felt my cheeks turn red at the reminder of what happened yesterday in his room. I didn't mean to see him naked, but I couldn't get the image out of my head. Why would Nicole mess up her marriage with a man like him? I don't think I'll ever be able to understand her. As Jenna and I take our seats, I open my mouth to tell her about my little crush, even though she already had a good idea about it. However, I don't get to say anything when Matt pulls a chair next to mine. I look at him, waiting for him to say something. "You look breathtaking today, Clara," he compliments me. "Any special occasion?" Jenna looked at us, and she could quickly tell that I was not interested in Matt, not in the least. "Nope," I answer him dryly. I didn't want to entertain a conversation with him when I had no interest in him. With him next to me, it would be difficult for me to spot the exact time that Alaric walks into the classroom. I had to find a way to get him to leave my side before I could miss my opportunity. "Really?" Matt asks as he leans into me. "How about we change that? Was he asking me out on a date?" His scent made me wrinkle my nose in disgust. "I don't think that's a good idea," I answered him. He sighs. "Come on, you aren't dating anyone now, are you?" I shook my head. "I'm not, but that doesn't mean I want to date you." He takes my hand. "I promise I won't mistreat you like Carter did. I'll treat you better." I looked down at his hand on top of mine. It made me very uncomfortable. I was about to pull it away when I felt Alaric's presence. I looked up and I was right. He just entered the classroom. I inwardly sigh. I'd missed his entrance just like I predicted. He places a few books in his hands on the desk and looks up to scan the faces of everyone present today. He doesn't stop until his gaze lands on me. His eyes pause on me for a good few seconds before his gaze moves to Matt's hand on top of mine. I saw a strange emotion flash in his eyes before he picked up something from his briefcase and turned his attention towards it. I bit my lip to hide the look of disappointment on my face. I don't think I was doing a very good job at it. Why was I hoping for a better reaction than that? "Grow up, Clara. Did you expect him to walk over here and push Matt's hand away?" "Matt," I say in the calmest manner possible, "please remove your hand. I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in dating you. I know I'm single now, but I'm totally happy that I am, and I'm not looking for anyone. I'll only consider dating Alaric, and since that was never happening, I would probably stay single for the rest of my life." "Are you sure, Clara?" he asks me. "I've heard the rumors going around. If you date me, we could end them all." My eyes widen a little. "What rumors?" "Can everyone return to their seats so that class can start?" Alaric's voice echoes throughout the room. Was there an edge to his voice, or was I imagining it? Matt looks at him and finds him glaring in his direction. He doesn't say anything else as he quickly returns to his seat. I know I might be just as delusional as you are, but I'm pretty sure Alaric looks annoyed that Matt was speaking to you. Jenna whispers next to me. I sigh. "You're right. You're just as delusional as I am." There was no way that he was actually upset Matt was speaking to me. Oh, how I wished it was true. However, I was not that lucky. "Clara!" After class, more girls moved towards Alaric with random excuses to speak with him. He was surrounded by 5 of them currently. They're all trying to communicate with him at the same time, and he's giving them the attention that they want, which in turn makes them all very happy. "Let me guess," Jenna says as we leave the classroom. "They don't understand their homework and need the professor to help them." I chuckled, even though my insides were burning with jealousy. He didn't stop me from leaving like he did yesterday. This time, he instead stayed back to talk to his other students. Was I stupid for thinking he would have done the same thing today? For the rest of the day, I couldn't focus on any of my other classes. How was I supposed to pay attention to anything when I knew Alaric could be in any part of the academy right now with hundreds of girls trying to get closer to him? I buried my face in my open book and prayed for the chance to stop thinking about him. At this point, I was practically torturing myself. I didn't know what to do to get over my crush on him. If I kept this up, I would end up getting hurt. I was already hurt in the past by Carter Prince. I didn't want to get hurt by his older brother. The truth was that I was the only one hurting myself this time. He never once showed me that he was interested in me. He's been kind and caring, gentle and sweet, but all those things were part of his personality. He was just a nice person who treated others with respect. I also kept forgetting the important fact that he was married. Sure, he was getting a divorce, but on paper, Nicole was still his wife. It didn't matter that she was a horrible person. She was still his wife, and I was wrong for wanting something from a man who was still married. I couldn't help myself. Alaric was someone that pulled you in. I spent the rest of the day trying not to think about him. However, I promised Scarlett I would be there for her, and I intended to keep that promise. And so, that's why right after I left the academy, I headed straight for her new home. When I got there, I waited for someone to let me in. The gates eventually opened, and I quickly parked my car. When I walked into the house, Alaric was already home. I didn't need to see him to know it. I noticed his truck parked outside the second I arrived. It was one of the first things I looked for when I entered his home. If I didn't see it, I always felt a big disappointment in the pit of my stomach. "Can you get something from the kitchen for me?" Scarlett asks me. I feel extremely thirsty. "Sure," I tell her. I left her in the family room and went to the kitchen. I was surprised to see Alaric already in there. I shouldn't have been surprised since I was in his house, but still, I was a bit startled, and I think he could tell, judging by the look on his face. He didn't look shocked to see me at all, meaning he knew I would be over today, just like yesterday. He walks over to the fridge and picks a beer out from it. He pitches the cover off it and gulps while his gaze pins me to my spot. I couldn't move, not even a little. How could one look from him turn my body into a statue? It wasn't fair to me at all. I waited for him to finish. I didn't want to go near him. It was awkward. But there was also this heat that I couldn't explain. "Is he why you've been so distracted lately?" he asks suddenly. His back was turned to me, and it looked like he was about to leave the kitchen. However, it didn't look like he was leaving until I gave him an answer. "Who?" I asked, confused and slightly surprised that he was trying to converse with me. The only time we've ever really spoken was when Scarlett went missing. He helped me a lot back then. A part of me wishes we could go back in time so I could be that close to him again. "Matt," he answers me. "Is he the reason that you've been distracted during class time?" My lips parted as my cheeks flushed. He was so wrong. How could he not tell that he was the reason I was distracted? "Not no damn, Matt." He leaned over me to grab a napkin, and I felt my heart rate speed up. He was too close. I couldn't think clearly with him this close to me. "Alaric." I could hear her heartbeat. Loud and fast, I frowned, confused by her. Why was her heart racing like I was making her nervous? Was it possible that I made Clara May uneasy? It couldn't be me. There had to be another reason. Maybe it was because I had mentioned Matt to her. It still annoyed me how much it affected me to see another man speaking to her. Clara was 5 years younger than me. She was just 21, and Matt was around her age. It was normal for people to date at that age. Then why did it bloody upset me so much? Earlier today, it took all my self-control not to walk over to them and slam Matt's face against the desk. It looked like he was bothering her. I didn't like it, not one bit. I even did something insane right after my classes finished. I went straight to the office and asked to transfer Matt out of my class. I was still waiting for the principal to get back to me. It was clear to me that I had lost my mind. I didn't think I had it in me to do something that drastic to get a man away from Clara. And he was my student. They both were my students. I shouldn't be interfering in either of their lives. She had me doing things I would have never done in this life. I didn't even know who I was anymore. In the past, I thought I would be married to Nicole for the rest of my life. And I never thought that a girl 5 years younger than me, a girl who was once in love with my younger brother, a girl who was too good to be true would ever catch my attention like this. She was genuinely unbelievable, and I never understood how Carter never fell deeply in love with her. I knew he cared about her, but to me, he never deserved her. I felt like an ass for even thinking that about my brother. "Alaric," Clara whispers. It was only then that I realized I hadn't moved. I'd reached behind her for a napkin, and I was stuck in that position for more than a minute. She must think that I'm crazy. I swallow and quickly move away. "About Matt," she says as I proceed to exit the room. Her words prompted me to look at her again, even though I knew I should turn around and never look back. "I'm not interested in Matt, not in the least," she says. "He's not the reason that I've been distracted in class." Her words meant more to me than she would ever know. Why the did that make me so happy? Why did I want to thank her for saying that? Damn it. I didn't understand any of this. I was confused. I should have never even asked her about her personal life. It was none of my damn business. If she wanted to date Matt, that should be her decision. I nod. "I'm sorry for asking, Clara. If you want to date anyone from class, you're free to do so. Even though I'm your professor, it isn't my place to tell you what not to do." Why was I rambling? I was surprised when her eyes looked crushed at my words. Was that not what she wanted me to say? I felt like I could also sense a bit of disappointment. I was never good at reading women. I couldn't even tell when Nicole was unhappy with me. I thought that I was doing everything to keep her happy. It turns out that I was doing just the opposite. I was sure that I was also wrong about Clara. Her emotions had nothing to do with me. "There you are," Scarlett says as she enters the kitchen. "I was worried that you'd gotten lost." Clara looks at her sister with flushed cheeks. She looks like she'd just gotten caught doing something she shouldn't. "Is something wrong?" she asked as she looked between the two of us. "No," Clara answered almost immediately. "Alaric was just asking me something about class today." She walks over to the fridge, grabs a drink, and pulls Scarlett out of the kitchen. For a few seconds, all I could do was stand still and watch her leave. I couldn't take my eyes off her. I had to find at least some control. What the hell was wrong with me? I wasn't some damn horny teenager, but that had nothing to do with it. These feelings inside of me were unlike anything I've ever experienced in the past. It was enough to make me question every damn thing in my life. I couldn't do this anymore. I had to stop this madness. I had to leave Clara alone. She's been through enough. I didn't need her to get tangled up in my mess. I would never do that to her. I cared about her too much. "Alaric." Carter shoots the ball into the hoop and grins at me. "You're only 1 point in front of me," I remind him. "Don't get too cocky." He laughs as he throws the ball back at me. It felt good to play against each other again. Everything has been so hectic recently that we didn't have a chance to play. Things were still a little tense. I knew that Carter still feared that Wilder would show up and challenge him for Scarlett. He barely made it out of the last fight alive. I still blamed myself for everything that happened that day. I should have been able to protect him. I was his big brother. My job was to keep him safe. He wasn't the only one I was upset that I couldn't protect that day. Clara had gotten seriously injured as well. I remember the panic I felt in my chest the second that I saw her unconscious on the ground, with nothing to cover her delicate body. I wince at the memories that didn't want to leave my mind, no matter how hard I tried. The reminder of that image sends my blood boiling once more. I wanted to kill them all that day. I should have at least killed one of them. However, Carter's life was in danger, and we had to save him. His life was more important. But I still held a grudge against that family. If they ever showed up again, I knew I wouldn't be able to stop myself. How does it feel to be the first one to give our parents a grandchild? I ask my brother to distract me from my dark thoughts. He grins from ear to ear. His face always lights up when I mention that he is going to be a father soon. "It's the best feeling in the world." He answers me. "Though it's bittersweet since I know you always wanted to be the first to have a child amongst us." It was true. I always wanted a baby. It's not that I wanted to be the first one to have one. It's just that I was the eldest, and it's something I was looking forward to with Nicole. Of course, all that is no longer possible, but it doesn't mean I've stopped wanting it. Aries told me that there's a new rumor going around the academy. He says suddenly. Was he trying to change the conversation? He must have sensed my sadness and wanted to distract me. That was something Carter would do. I frown. "Really?" I ask. "Does it concern our family, or are they finally speaking about someone else?" He shook his head. They're speaking about you. I paused to look at him in surprise. They're speaking about me. He nods. It turns out that you're quite popular with the lady's brother. I wasn't surprised by his words. I knew that they were fascinated with me. However, I wasn't interested in anyone. My life was already a mess because of Nicole. I didn't need to add any more stress to my life. Plus, they were all too young for me, just like Clara was. I'm their professor, much older than them, I say, even though he didn't ask me anything. He nods. You're only 26, but I get what you're saying. It wouldn't be good to date one of your students. Is there any particular reason that you brought this up today? I ask him. It feels like there's more you aren't telling me. I usually knew when Carter was keeping something from me. I could tell that tonight was no different. But what could he possibly want to keep from me now? There weren't any more secrets to keep. I didn't want to bring this up, since I knew there wasn't a possibility of it being true. But since you asked, I'll tell you. He answers me. Go right ahead, I urge him. I'm listening. There's another rumor, he finally says while looking me dead in the eyes. About who? You and Clara. The ball drops from my hands at his words. He looks a little surprised by my reaction. Clara? I asked, even though my voice was now strained. Why the hell would there be rumors of the two of us? He sighs. Apparently, people at the academy think that the two of you are having an affair. They believe that you're divorcing Nicole so that you could be with her. It seemed people had nothing better to do with their time than to sit down and make up absurd stories. Fuck, I growl. Clara's been through enough already. Why would anyone spread a rumor like that? Carter shrugs his shoulders. I don't know, brother, but I would suggest you don't let it bother you. I'll see what I can do to stop the rumors so that it doesn't affect you or Clara. No, I stop him. I can handle this on my own. I would personally see to it that anyone spreading rumors about Clara would feel my wrath. Clara, there was a party at the prince's residence today, and I wanted to dress as sexy as I possibly could. It was one of those things that made me feel alive. After getting dressed in a very short black dress, I joined my parents in the car. You sure took your time, my father says. I could tell that they were both tired of waiting for me. We were in here for 20 minutes, Clara. My mother scolds me. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, I apologize. I wanted to look my best tonight. It's been a while since I felt like this. After Carter and I ended things, I stopped doing the things that made me happy. Now that things were back to normal, I felt like myself again. They both sigh as the driver finally pulls out of the driveway. It doesn't take us that long to arrive at our destination. My parents were the first to step inside. I, on the other hand, was waiting for Jenna to arrive. Why are you here? A familiar, sickening voice asks behind me. I stiffened. I knew immediately that it was Nicole. She was the last person I expected to see. I turned to look at her. There's a party. I was invited. Why are you here? She rolls her eyes. I'm Alaric's wife. I don't need an invitation. Don't you mean soon-to-be ex-wife? I ask her. She narrowed her eyes, and I could feel her anger. I knew that I should just walk away. I didn't need to stand here and speak to her. She suddenly grabs my hand without any warning. You can try as hard as you can, but Alaric will never be yours. She snaps. I know exactly what you're doing, but it won't work. Alaric hasn't looked at a single woman since we've married. Do you think that he's going to have eyes for you? You're hardly pretty, and you're so much younger than him. If you know anything about Alaric, you'll know that he will never go for a woman as young as you are. You're his student. He has more values than that little girl. I pull my hand out of her grasp. It baffles me that someone as kind as him was ever with someone like you. I guess love really is blind. I don't wait for her to say anything else as I storm into the house. What was she even doing here? I'm sure that no one would have invited her, especially not Alaric. He seemed ready for the divorce, unless I'd misread him. If I had, dressing up to try and catch his attention was a very bad idea. I was only doing these things because I thought that he was finally done with Nicole and was ready to move on. I kept going against everything I stood for. I knew I should have listened to that voice in my head that said to stop this madness before it became too much for me to handle. Every time I promised myself to stay away from Alaric, I kept on doing the opposite. Clara! Scarlett greets me as soon as she spots me. What's wrong? She demands the second that she realizes that something is wrong. I just saw Nicole outside, I inform her. She had plenty to say as usual. Nicole? She asks, surprised. Nicole was outside? I nod. She was. I don't understand. None of us invited her, she tells me. Are you sure Alaric didn't invite her? I asked. I desperately needed to know. I was hoping that it wasn't true. I was hoping that he didn't invite her and she'd just shown up on her own. I can't say, she admits. I'm sure that he wants to divorce her, but it's also possible that he invited her. He has a soft spot for her at times. It was not easy hearing her say those words, even though I knew that it was the truth. I knew how much he loved Nicole and wanted their marriage to work right before she ruined everything. But look at what you're wearing, she gasps, gesturing to my sparkly dress. You look divine in that dress. It fits you so beautifully. I smile. Thank you, Scarlett. You look beautiful as well. You're practically glowing. Pregnancy agrees with you. She grins. I didn't think I could ever be this happy, but Carter has been amazing. I couldn't ask for a better husband. I nod. Do you ever get scared thinking about the Cage brothers? She sighs. I've had a few nightmares that Wilder would return for me. But I think that's all that they are, nightmares. Now that I rejected him and know that I'm Carter's miracle mate, I'm convinced that no one can try to separate us again. There must be a way to make it official, I tell her. You are aware of the ritual that normal mates have to signal that they accept each other. Can't any of those things be done to seal everything for the both of you? I don't know, Clara, she admits. It's apparently all very new to Carter and his family. They're only just learning about it. There's plenty that they still don't know or understand. Only time will tell. Was it possible that Nicole was also Alaric's miracle mate? I already had the answer. It was a definite no. She couldn't be. If she were, he wouldn't have needed to be chained every night like his brothers. It meant that Alaric's miracle mate was still out there somewhere. My heart sank at that thought. There truly was never going to be a chance for Alaric and me, was there? There were still a few days left before the next full moon, and I was worried that something would happen on that day. The thought of Alaric breaking free and finding a stranger to sleep with made me feel sick to my stomach. I didn't want to think about it. A part of me wished that I could offer myself to him so that he didn't have to suffer on every full moon. I wanted to help him, Alaric. I can't look away from Clara. The second I saw her tonight, she's been the center of my attention. I found myself searching the room multiple times just so that I could gaze at her from afar. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Aries says as he grabs a snack from the waiter. I forced my eyes away from Clara against my will to look at my brother. He was smirking, and I didn't like it. Wouldn't do what? I ask him. Go after her, he says. That isn't going to end well for either of you. I swallow. I don't know what you're speaking about. He chuckles. Right, sure you don't, big bro. I grab a drink from the next waiter who passes next to us and take a big gulp as I loosen my tie. I think you had too many to drink. You're seeing things, Aries, I growl. He shook his head. On the contrary, brother, I had nothing to drink tonight. I'm sober as can be, and I know my eyes aren't deceiving me. You might want to control those wandering eyes tonight, though. There are already too many people staring at you. I'm sure one of these dozens of girls will recognize the one woman who has your full attention. I almost choked on my drink. He'd seen me staring at Clara. Fuck. I knew that I wasn't good at hiding it, but fuck me. I didn't think I would get caught so damn quickly. If he'd noticed, who else would have also? At least I hoped that Clara didn't realize. I didn't want her to get the wrong impression. She does look beautiful tonight, doesn't she? He asks me. I'm surprised when a low growl forces its way out of my mouth. Aries quirks a surprised brow at me. What the fuck was that? He asks. Did you just growl at me? What's happening here? Apollo asks as he joins us. Who's growling and why? I glare at Aries, warning him not to say anything stupid. I was just suggesting that our elder brother start looking for a new wife. He lies. He's closer than ever to his divorce. We've all waited a long time for this. Maybe this time he can finally find a woman who can treat him right. I'm sure there's someone out there for him. Carter says as he appears out of nowhere. How long has he been listening to our conversation? I hope she's nothing like Nicole. Apollo chuckles. I don't think there's anyone else like her. At least I hope there isn't. Aries smiles at me. Why don't you choose someone to dance with tonight? He knew exactly what he was doing. That ass. Did he forget that I was older than him? I'm good where I am. He sighs. Come on, brother. Loosen up a little. There are so many women here that wish you could give them a chance. What are you waiting for? For my divorce to finalize, I growl. I'm still married to Nicole. I do not plan on dating anyone while I'm still married to her. That's a good point. Carter says as he grabs a sandwich. You are still married. Why do we all keep forgetting that? What are you waiting on? Apollo asks me. Why is it taking so long? I sigh. I signed the papers today. I have to give it to Nicole to sign them also. Do you think she'll do it? Carter asks me. The last time I checked, she no longer wanted to divorce you. I had a feeling that Nicole wouldn't make it easy for me, but eventually she would have no choice but to sign the papers. I planned on giving her them tonight. That's why I invited her to the party today. I knew she wouldn't have agreed if I'd told her the real reason I wanted her here tonight. Tell me that isn't her, Aries says as he looks at the doorway. I followed his gaze, and there she was, my wife. I missed the times I would look at her and think that she was my everything. Now every time I see her, I'm reminded of our ruined marriage. What is she doing here? Carter asks me. I know you didn't invite her. I'm sure there's a logical explanation for this, Apollo says, even though he looks worried. I don't think Alaric would have invited her. They're speaking as though I'm not right in front of them. I am. I pause before I say, I did invite her. You invited her? I hear Scarlett's surprised voice behind me. I froze. I knew that Clara was also with her. Did that mean she'd also just heard me? I slowly turn around and find her staring at me wide-eyed. I was right. Oh, fuck. Why did I suddenly feel guilty? There was nothing between Clara and me. So then, why did the look on her face make me want to take back everything I'd just said? Clara. Scarlett looks at me. She knows Alaric's words would have affected me badly. I can see the worry in her eyes. I fold my arms across my chest to hug myself. I suddenly felt sick to my stomach. I couldn't believe it. He was the one that invited her over. Why would he do that if he wanted to divorce her? Does this mean that he wasn't serious about the divorce? There were so many questions racing in my head. I knew that I shouldn't let it bother me. There was nothing at all between us. However, I still felt like I'd been betrayed. It made no sense. I knew that I was acting ridiculous. Alaric never once even looked at me like he desired me. He never touched me inappropriately and never said anything to make me think that he liked me. I had no right to feel like this. Hello, everyone, Nicole says as she approaches us. The tension in the air had just risen with her presence, just like it always did whenever she was around. She knew that no one here liked her or could even tolerate her except Alaric. I didn't know how he could have possibly stayed married to her for so long. I couldn't understand why he would invite her to this party either. Everything would have been better without her here. Nicole, Scarlett forces a smile. How have you been? I knew that I should say something to her as well, but I couldn't bring myself to open my mouth. I should be asking you that, Scarlett, she says. I heard that you've been sick lately. We all are shocked that she's suddenly acting concerned about my sister. I knew that it was all pretend. The person who spoke to me outside was the real Nicole, not this fake woman. I couldn't stand her. But how did she know that Scarlett was sick? Did Alaric tell her? I'm better. Clara comes over every day to help take care of me. It's because of her that I've improved. She answers her. Nicole didn't even try to acknowledge me, even though she had plenty to say when it was just the two of us. Instead, she turns her attention back to Alaric. I felt my heart twist when she placed her hands on his chest and leaned in to give him a kiss on his cheek. I couldn't look at this anymore. I turned my face in the opposite direction. Jenna was at the entrance. It was my cue to leave. Jenna is here, I tell Scarlett. She nods. Bring her over. I leave everyone's side to walk over to my new best friend. She smiles the second she sees me and pulls me in for a hug. I think you might make Scarlett a little jealous, I tease her. You were her best friend first. She laughs. There's enough of me to share between the two of you. I smile, but I think she sees straight through my act. Something's wrong, she says. Tell me what it is. I didn't have to say anything. I just moved out of her way so she could see for herself. Oh no, she says the second that she spots Nicole. Please tell me that isn't who I think it is. I sigh. I wish I could, but that would be a lie. What is she even doing here? She asks. Aren't Alaric and her getting a divorce? That's what we all thought. Apparently, we were all fooled. I thought so, but maybe we were all wrong, I say dryly. It was Alaric that invited her. I heard it from his very own mouth. I can't hide the disappointment from my voice. I had hoped it wasn't true, but I heard him admit it myself. I looked down at my dress. I'd wasted my time today. I had hoped that I would grasp his attention, but this entire time, he was only thinking about Nicole. I was foolish for thinking that he would divorce the woman he was in love with. My silly heart was hoping for things that could never happen. We can leave if you want, Jenna suggests. I sigh as I follow her gaze back to the man who could never be mine. It would be unfair to Scarlett, even though seeing Alaric and Nicole together is a bit painful for me. My sister is more important than that. I'd been a lot more open with Jenna about my feelings. It felt good to speak to someone about it. She holds my hand to give me more support. I was grateful to her. Scarlett is looking at us, she tells me. Maybe we should join them. I nod and force my feet forward. I watch as Alaric removes Nicole's hand from his chest and guides her away from everyone else. My heart hurts as I watch him take her towards the stairs. Is he carrying her to his room? Jenna gasps. I guess they really are trying to make their marriage work again. We all had it wrong. I bit down hard on my lip. Why was I suddenly feeling this way? What had changed? While I was with Carter, it never bothered me what Alaric did or didn't do. He always fascinated me, but I never wanted him this badly. Something must be terribly wrong with me. Alaric! Alaric! Nicole was acting like everything was back to normal between us. It didn't seem like she knew why I'd invited her over. I didn't want to break the news to her while everyone was around. I knew that would spoil the party for everyone. Are we going to your room? She asks me curiously. There's a hint of excitement in her voice. I nod. I have something that I want to give you. I wait for her to enter before going behind her. I quietly shut the door, took a deep breath, and slowly turned around to face her. My mouth parted slightly when I saw what she was doing. It was the last thing I expected to see tonight. Nicole? She turns to look at me with her finger still on the zipper of her dress. Why are you removing your dress? I ask her. She pauses. Isn't this why you brought me here? She asks. Aren't you gonna fuck me? My jaw clenches at her question. What would give you that impression? I ask her. Come on, Alaric, I know you miss me. She whispers. I know you miss my body. In the past, you couldn't get enough of me. You would find any excuse to wrap our bodies together. Don't you remember any of that? I run a hand through my hair and sigh. This isn't why I brought you here, Nicole. There's a different reason that I invited you to the party today. I knew that you wouldn't have come otherwise. I'm sorry if I gave you the wrong impression, but I didn't bring you to my room to do what you said. You're here for something much more important than that. She frowns. What the hell are you talking about? She demands. What other reason could there possibly be? The look of horror on her face told me that she already had an idea what it was, but she wanted me to confirm it for her first. I grabbed the papers from the desk before me and hand them to her. I wanted you to sign these for me. It was hard for me to do this in the past. There were many times that she gave me divorce papers and asked me to sign them. Back then, I couldn't do it no matter how hard I tried. Things were different now. I'd finally decided that this wasn't what I wanted. I didn't want a wife who hated me. I didn't want a wife who looked at me like I was some monster. I didn't want a wife who hated my family or constantly tried to stir up trouble. She grabs it from me. She then pauses to read through it, and when she realizes what she's holding in her hand, she turns her gaze on me. What the f*** is this, Alaric? She shouts. Why on earth are you giving this to me? Why else? It was a piece of paper that she'd given me multiple times in the past. Why are you so surprised? I asked calmly, even though I was hurting inside. I made it clear that I wanted this divorce to happen. I told you that I was done trying to make this marriage work. I've already signed the papers. Now all I need for you to do is sign them. Her signature was all I needed to make this divorce final, once and for all. Her eyes widened with disgust and disbelief. I knew I'd shocked her. She probably thought that I was just upset about what she'd said and would eventually calm down and forgive her. It was finally sinking in that I was serious about the divorce. I can't believe you would do something like this to me, she gasps. How could you ever do this to me, Alaric? After all those years of marriage, you're truly going to throw it away just like this? My hands tightened into fists at my sides. She was the last person to ask such a question. You know damn well that I did plenty to try and save our marriage. I tolerated you. You tolerated me? She demands. Tolerated? Since when did I become such a burden to you? The second you stopped loving me, I growl. She blinks in surprise at my direct words. You don't love me anymore, Nicole, I tell her. You don't. This is the best decision for both of us. It's what we both need. I will never divorce you, Alaric, she promises me. Never. My heart slows down. I never liked hurting Nicole. For months I tried so hard with her, and it broke my heart each time that she begged me for a divorce. It broke my heart each time I gazed into her eyes and saw disgust looking back at me. I don't move when she throws the papers in my face. Nicole, I'll never forgive you for this, Alaric. She screams as she walks to the door. You didn't sign the pap. I growl when she throws a lamp at me. It hits me hard on my forehead. She doesn't even bother to look back as she storms out of the room. I passed a finger over the bruise and wasn't shocked when I felt blood. This was much worse than I initially thought. Damn it. Clara, come on, Jenna says as she pulls me onto the dance floor. You should ease your tension and try to have some fun. Move those hips. She was right. I should dance a little to forget about Alaric and Nicole. I tried my best to listen to the music and allow it to soothe me, but after a few minutes, I knew it was hopeless. Why was I doing this to myself for a second time? I should have more control, but the truth was that I had none when it concerned Alaric. It wouldn't be this easy to forget about what just happened. What was he doing in that room with her? Was he making love to her? Were they getting back together? There were so many questions, and I knew I didn't want an honest answer to each of them. She's been up there with him for a while now, I remind Jenna. It's been over an hour since I last saw both of them. It bothered me. Are you sure she's still up there with him? She asks me. I never saw her return, I tell her. Maybe she left early? She asks me. I knew she was only saying this to try and make me feel better. There was no way that Nicole would leave early if Alaric invited her. She was the kind of person who loved to rub everything in your face. I think I should check on Scarlett, I tell Jenna. She'd left 10 minutes ago because she wasn't feeling well. She should have returned by now. Sure, she smiles as she looks around us nervously. I'm sure I can find someone to speak to. You can talk to Violet, I tell her. She's very sweet and you'll get along with her well. Alaric's younger sister was just as kind as she was beautiful. I point Jenna in her direction and she walks over to her. I smile when Violet's face brightens the second Jenna starts speaking to her. It must be hard to be the only girl surrounded by so many brothers. I could tell they were also very overprotective of her. In fact, no guy here looked her way, even though she was drop-dead gorgeous. I knew that the day Violet fell for someone, her brothers would lose their minds. I walk out of the ballroom and straight into the hallway. I look at the stairs, tempted to check on Alaric. However, I knew that would make me seem weird. I didn't want Alaric to get the wrong impression. If he wanted to make things work with Nicole, it wasn't my place to say anything. It just meant that everything I've been doing recently to catch his attention would have to stop immediately. However, I knew I would never stop wanting him, even if I were forced never to show it. I made my way towards the kitchen. It was the last place that Scarlett told me she would be. I pause when I see Alaric inside. There wasn't anyone else in here with him. I thought I would find Scarlett here since that's where she said she would be. The last person I expected to see was him. Where was Nicole? Why wasn't she with him? He had a beer bottle in his hand and a dozen more empty ones on the table before him. Why was he drinking this much? I move closer to him, and he lifts his head. The second his eyes fell on me, I felt weak to my stomach. Only Alaric could make me feel like this. Not even Carter could. He exhales loudly as he lifts the tip of the bottle to his mouth and slurps with his eyes still on me. His gaze kept me glued to my spot. Why wasn't he saying anything? It was only then that I realized something I should have noticed sooner. There was a bruise on his forehead. It wasn't there earlier, meaning he'd just gotten it. I gasped. I couldn't help myself as I rushed forward to get a closer look at it. Alaric stiffens as I approach him. His reaction to my nearness bothers me. Still, I don't stop as I lift my hand to touch it. However, before my finger could reach the bruise, he grabbed my wrist to stop me. I swallow as I peer up at him. His eyes search mine, and I'm unsure what he's looking for. "What are you doing, Clara?" he asks me softly. My lips parted slightly before I said, "There's a bruise on your forehead. How did you get that?" He doesn't answer me. Instead, he slowly lets go of my hand and returns to drinking. "Please leave, Clara," he whispers. I pretended not to be hurt by his immediate dismissal. "What happened, Alaric?" I ask him. "Who did this to you?" I was not leaving until he gave me an answer. I wanted to help him. He looked like a man whose entire world had just been destroyed. He doesn't answer me. I didn't like drunk Alaric. He was much more distant. I rush out of the kitchen and straight to the medicine cabinet. After finding the emergency kit, I returned to Alaric's side. I attempted to clean the wound, but he immediately stopped me. It was the second time tonight that he prevented me from helping him. "What's wrong?" I ask him gently. "Why won't you let me help you?" His gaze is sad as he stares into my eyes. I feel my heart skip a beat. His hand on my wrist was warm, and I could feel little shockwaves. It was a weird but exhilarating feeling. "Just leave," he says in a defeated tone. I hid my disappointment for the second time tonight. It hurt. I hate how much it hurts. "Where is Nicole?" I try again. He looks away at my question, and I frown. Another thought crosses my mind, one that makes me scream inside. "Alaric," I whisper, "did Nicole do this to you?" "Clara." Alaric doesn't answer me. I'm unsure if he's ignoring me or thinking of something else. "Alaric?" I whisper. The thought of Nicole physically hurting him like this made me furious inside. I always knew I didn't like Nicole because of her awful personality, but this was on another level. What reason could she possibly have to do this? I wasn't even sure she was the culprit, but I was already so bitter. His eyes look so sad that I want to lean forward and hug him. I wish that he would let me take his pain away. I hope that he can give me that chance to make his life better. I've never felt this protective of a man in my entire life. I didn't know why. I'm not sure of anything anymore. All I know is that I want to make him happy. I want to be the one to make him smile. "I want to be alone," he says again. "The bruise is nothing. It will heal on its own." I frown. "It's bleeding." I point out. "The wound is something Alaric, and it needs to be tended to." "Why do you care so much?" he asks me. "I'm not Carter, Clara." I gasped at his words. Why would he bring Carter up at a time like this? What does my past relationship with Carter have to do with this? "Fuck," he growls. It looks like he regrets saying that, but I could just be imagining it. I don't know why I haven't left yet. I don't know why I'm still staring at him wide-eyed, like I can't believe he just said that to me. "Look, Clara," he whispers. It sounds like he's about to apologize, but he stops himself. I'll never know what he wanted to say to me. It seems like he's conflicted about what to do. "Why do you always say my name professionally?" I ask him. "Why can't you speak to me like you would speak to someone who isn't a stranger?" He frowns. "You are my student. How else should I say your name?" His student, right? I wish it weren't like that. I didn't want to be known as just his student. I knew it was pointless having this conversation with him while he was intoxicated, but I didn't think I was brave enough to have it otherwise. I reach forward one last time to touch his bruise, and Alaric tries to stop me once more. Except, this time, his watch hooks on my dress. He pulls lightly, and my eyes widen when I hear a rip. His eyes travel to my torn dress, and he immediately moves forward to cover it with his hand. We both freeze. His hand was now on my breast, and I don't think that was what he intended to happen. There was so much heat in his eyes that I felt my insides melt. What was he doing to me? I've never felt feelings as strong as these in the past. What was the meaning of this? Should I be worried? Should I see a doctor or a psychiatrist? I just knew that none of this was normal. He clears his throat. This is the second time he's given me something of his to cover my body. I'm reminded of why I'm so attracted to him. Because of this side of him, I knew the type of person he was deep down inside, which in turn drew me in. I'm sorry. He apologizes. I still haven't recovered from having his hand on my breast, even though it was not intentional. I'm not, I whisper. I don't know why I said it. I shouldn't have. He looks at me. What did you say? I take his hand and place it on my chest so that he can feel my pounding heartbeat. I wanted to tell him that it was because of him, but I didn't say anything. He looks confused by my actions. Even I was a bit confused. I was not used to being this bold. Clara, he swallows hard. What are you doing? I don't know, I whisper. I can barely recognize my voice. I don't know, Alaric. His gaze travels to my neck, and he surprises me when he moves his hand there. He gently rubs the spot right beneath my earlobe with his thumb. I'm not sure what's on his mind, but I know that I don't want him to stop touching me. It felt like a dream. And maybe I was dreaming because there was no way I could do something like this in the real world. I could hear his wild heartbeat as well when he leaned into me so that his lips were just above my ear. I ached down there, and I wished I could tell him. I wish he would kiss me. I wish he would do more than that. Alaric does nothing of the sort. He stayed that way. He was close to me, but he wasn't touching a single part of me with his lips. But still, his nearness ignited a flame in my stomach that threatened to ruin my life. I think I've finally lost my mind when I wrap my arms around his neck and tiptoe so that I can press my lips against the bruise on his forehead. Alaric freezes at the contact, and after a while, I freeze as well. It finally sinks in what I'd just done. What the hell was wrong with me? Clara, I'm sorry. I managed to squeak as Alaric puts distance between the two of us. I've never been so embarrassed in my entire life, and everyone knew that I'd done some pretty embarrassing things in my life. This one was the winner. There was nothing I could possibly do in the future that would be worse than this. Alaric doesn't say anything in response, and I take that as my cue to leave. I rushed out of the kitchen and found Scarlett standing a few feet away. I've been looking everywhere for you. She tells me the second that she spots me. Where have you been? I don't know, sister. Possibly kissing Alaric's bruises like I was the one married to him. I shook that thought out of my head. I didn't need a reminder of what I'd just done. I'd crossed a line that should have never been crossed. I knew that my cheeks had to be flushed, and my sister wasn't dumb. She would be able to tell that something had just happened. I grabbed her hand and pulled her up the stairs to her room. I couldn't tell her what I did out in the open for anyone to hear. This wasn't something I ever wanted others to learn about. When I shut the door and locked us inside, she turned to look at me with a concerned expression on her face. She must think that I've completely lost my mind, though that wouldn't be so far-fetched. What's going on, Clara? She asks. Did something happen? I can't control my anxiety as I pace up and down the room. You're worrying me, she adds. Tell me what happened. Did you see Nicole again? Did she have something else to say to you? I think it would have been better if that was the case. I lift my hands into the air. I made a complete fool out of myself. I did something only a crazy person would do. Scarlett walks closer to me. What did you do? There was undoubtedly worry in her voice. I couldn't bring the words out of my mouth. I was too embarrassed, even though I was speaking to my sister. Clara? I sigh as I force myself to speak. I went looking for you in the kitchen, but I didn't find you there. Instead, Alaric was the one in there. He was alone, with empty beer bottles on the counter. I immediately knew that he was drunk, but then I noticed a bruise on his forehead. All I wanted to do was help, but in return, I just made a fool out of myself. I can hardly breathe. Take a deep breath, my sister whispers. You need to stay calm. Your cheeks have never been this red before. You don't get it, Scarlett, I gasp. I did something I shouldn't have. I was only trying to help him. but my feelings for him messed everything up. He kept asking me to leave and to give him some space, but I insisted on tending to his wound. "I don't see anything wrong with that, Clara," she says. "Why are you so upset over this? You wanted to help him. That's all." "That's not all." I disagreed as I motioned to his shirt on my body. "As you can see, I have another piece of his clothing. Let me just skip to the most embarrassing part of this story. I wasn't thinking, and I kissed his bruise. I got caught up in the moment and did the worst thing possible." Scarlett's eyes widened at my confession. "You did what?" She gapes at me. I don't know what happened. My emotions took over. I wanted to be closer to him. I wanted to do something, anything. I didn't realize what I was doing until it was too late. And now I don't think I can ever see Alaric again. Scarlett, I can never face him after this. He would feel so uncomfortable around me. "I know this seems bad, but we can fix this," she assures me. "Fix this?" I demand. "How?" "Well, as you know, you can't exactly avoid him for the rest of your life. He lives where I live. He's my husband's brother. That's out of the question. Plus, he's your professor. There is no hiding from Alaric. We have to hope that he doesn't remember anything from tonight. You did say that he was pretty wasted." I bit my lip nervously. It was true that he was drunk. "Do you think that there is really a possibility that he will forget everything that I did tonight?" I ask her. This was the only hope that I had. She sighs. "I can't say for sure, Clara, but we can only hope he does. Even if he does remember certain parts of the night, if he asks you anything, deny it." "Deny it?" "Sure, Clara, I'm sure nothing can possibly go wrong with this plan." I was never good at lying, but if I had to lie for something like this, I would do it. It was better than Alaric thinking that I was crazy. Anything was better than that. "Alaric, I can't remember the last time I've ever felt this blasted hangover. How much exactly did I have to drink last night? You look like shit." Ayres chuckles when he sees me. "And you're late to class. I hope that you remember you're the professor, not a student." Apollo adds behind me. I inwardly groan. Of course, the academy. Damn it. I didn't want to be late. I don't bother replying to either of them as I rush out the door and straight into my truck. I ignore the pain in my head as I mash down on the accelerator. I knew I shouldn't have drunk anything last night. When Nicole hit me with that damn lamp and refused to sign the papers, I needed something to get my mind off it. I was supposed to have one beer or two, but that's not what happened. I ended up having much more than just 2 beers. I felt like something else happened last night, but I couldn't wrap my head around it. What was I forgetting? Was it something else with Nicole? It couldn't be. She left the second I gave her those papers to sign. I wince as the sunlight becomes too much. I quickly put on sunglasses as I search my mind some more. It was something important. But what was it? I should have asked someone at home what happened to me last night. I couldn't remember and I hated it. I never liked getting drunk. I usually controlled how much I drank. Last night, my emotions got the best of me. The second I pulled into the academy's parking lot, I felt this strange pull in my chest, like my body wanted to drag me to someone's side. It was an unusual feeling, one that I was not used to having. I grab my shirt from the back and quickly change into it. The second I step out of the truck, I can feel multiple stares my way. I was accustomed to it by now. As soon as I walk into the academy and step into the hallway, the first person I see is Clara. She stood outside the door to the classroom like she's done so many times. Except this time, she looks terrified to enter. I've never understood why she always hesitated this much to attend my classes. Did I make her uncomfortable? Was I not a good teacher? What was her problem? I take one step forward but pause when an interesting memory of last night hits me. I frown. It's an image of Clara with me in the kitchen. It was still a bit hazy, but it looked like she was trying to tend to the cut on my forehead. What the fuck? That had to be my mind messing with me. There's no possible reason that Clara would try to tend to my wound. I winced at the lousy headache that prevented me from trying to remember more of last night. Surely that didn't happen, right? I shook that memory out of my head. I had to get my thoughts focused for class. I couldn't get distracted by Clara like I often did. I didn't like it one bit. I never wanted another woman to distract me like this. especially after what Nicole did to me. I had to have more control than this. I took a deep breath and walked forward to make my presence known to Clara. Her eyes widen when she spots me in front of her. "Are you waiting for someone?" I ask her. My voice was a bit hoarse, but I knew that had to be because of last night. It had nothing to do with her. She doesn't answer me. Instead, she looks like she's just seen a ghost. "Clara?" I ask her, waiting almost impatiently for her to give me an answer. She continues to remain silent. I take a step forward once more, but she freezes, which forces me to stop. She blinks once, then twice before rushing into the classroom. What the hell was that? She didn't say a single word to me. I always knew Clara seemed uncomfortable around me, but she's never ignored me like this in the past. It made me a bit uneasy. Then, was that memory of last night true? My muscles tensed at the thought of it being true. Was that all that happened last night? For Clara to react like this, there must be more. So much more. Did I do something to her? I tensed at that question floating around in my mind. What the did I do? I knew that I had zero control around her when I was sober. Then what was I capable of doing while intoxicated? I inwardly groan. Alaric, what the hell did you do last night? Clara. Jenna, speaking in a whisper, observes, "You seem to have had a sleepless night. Is everything okay? Could you share what happened last night that kept you from getting a good night's sleep?" As I sat there, trying to gather my thoughts, I knew what to do. I had to tell my best friend everything. But it wasn't easy. I had done something that I wasn't proud of, and I was ashamed to admit it. I was too embarrassed and, quite frankly, preferred that no one else knew. But I knew I couldn't keep it bottled up inside any longer. So I took a deep breath and began to tell her the whole story. I did something kind of crazy last night. It was a difficult conversation, and I knew I should have waited till class was over to tell her, but I couldn't wait any longer. She listened to me without judgment, but that was the kind of person Jenna was. She wouldn't judge anyone unless it were something really bad that couldn't be forgiven. "So let me just get this straight," she whispered after I'd finished the entire story. "You actually kissed Alaric last night? That Alaric in front of the class. Our professor!" My eyes widen at her interpretation of my story. "I'm not sure I understand how you arrived at that conclusion," I assert, my tone both firm and incredulous. To be clear, I only mentioned that I kissed the bruise he had on his forehead. I never said anything about kissing him. She smiles at me. "Clara," she whispers, "you kissed his forehead. That's a part of him. Whether or not you want to admit it, you kissed your professor last night." I inwardly groaned. Why did I choose to tell her anything? She was never going to let me forget about last night. "When you went missing, I thought you were busy caring for Scarlett," she admits. "I never once thought you were busy kissing Alaric." My hand tightens on the pen in front of me. "He's looking at you," my best friend whispers. I couldn't bring myself to meet his gaze. My face still felt warm with embarrassment from the events of the previous night. I clung to the hope that Scarlett's reassuring words would prove true, that he had forgotten everything, and that things could return to normal. But deep down, a small part of me hoped he had remembered. I didn't understand my own conflicting emotions. I was a mess. I knew that much. Eventually, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I gave in and finally looked at him. Thankfully, his gaze was no longer on me. However, it did nothing to ease the tension within me. Alaric was sexy without even trying to be. In fact, I don't think I've ever wanted him more than this. As I sit there quietly, observing his every move, he reaches out for his sleeve and slowly starts to roll it up. Why was I so enchanted by his every move? With deliberate movements, he then reached out for a marker that was resting on his desk. Turning away from me, he faces the board before him, his broad back now obscuring my view. I didn't mind. Even Alaric's back was a masterpiece to me. How lucky Nicole was to be his wife. That reminded me of last night. I never found out if she was the one responsible for the bruise on his forehead. I never saw her for the rest of the night, and while it made me happy, it also worried me a bit. Just what happened between the two of them last night? Whatever it was, I knew that it wasn't good. It made Alaric so upset that he spent the entire night getting wasted. I hated seeing him that way. I'd never seen him that upset in the past, and it bothered me to the point that I couldn't sleep at all, other than the fact that I had made a complete fool of myself last night in front of him. The bell signals the end of class, and I quickly get up to leave. I didn't want to take too long to exit the classroom. I didn't need to give Alaric another reason to try to speak to me. "Gosh, you're in a hurry," Jenna whispers next to me as I grab my bag. "We need to get out of this classroom now," I whisper back, unable to hide the urgency in my voice. She grabs her books and quickly follows me. Just like always, there is already a group of girls surrounding Alaric. I try not to roll my eyes as I pass them to get to the door. "Miss Clara May." I freeze. I could hardly move, not after he'd said my name like that, like I was in trouble. I swallow and slowly turn around to gaze at him. His eyes are dark as he says, "Meet me in my office in 5 minutes." My heart sank as my lips parted in horror. I desperately hoped that I had misheard him, but the furious expressions on the faces of every girl in front of me confirmed what I feared to be true. What did I do? Why did he want to see me? Was this about last night? That last question made my entire body begin to panic. "Please don't let it be about that." "Clara, he asked to see you in his office?" Jenna asks in horror. It's never a pleasant thing to be summoned to a professor's office, and my friend was aware of this just as much as I was. "I'm telling you, Jenna," I whisper, "it's about last night. What else could there be?" "But why would he choose now to ask you anything?" she asks. "He could have waited until later when you went home to check on Scarlett. I'm sure there is another reason. Don't worry about it too much." "Don't worry about it. How could I not?" "I'll meet you in the cafeteria once I'm finished in his office," I informed her. She nods. "Good luck." The anticipation of the unknown weighed heavily on me as I walked down the hallway towards Alaric's office. I can't remember the last time I've ever been in trouble at the academy. I could feel the nervousness rise in my chest. As I walked towards the office, I couldn't help but feel the stares of the other girls on me. I was sure that the news had already spread like wildfire among them, and they were now eagerly waiting to see what would happen to me. Unfortunately, the girls who had overheard Alaric asking me to meet him were the kind of girls who loved to spread rumors. I could just imagine the gossip mill churning out all sorts of wild theories about me and Alaric. And now, with this latest development, I was certain that the rumors about us would only increase further. It was a daunting thought, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease as I knocked on the door. "Come in." It's just 2 words spoken by the man of my wildest fantasies, but it made my entire body shiver. It wreaked havoc inside of me. With trembling hands on the cold metal door handle, I take a deep breath and push it open. The creaking sound breaks the silence in the room, but Alaric doesn't seem to notice. He's sitting behind his sturdy desk, his broad shoulders hunched forward as he focuses on the document before him. The desk is cluttered with files and pens, but Alaric concentrates solely on his work and not on me. His strong hand clutches a pen, moving across the paper with precision and purpose. I struggled to control myself as I laid eyes on him, biting my lip to suppress a moan. There was just something about him. Perhaps it was the way his tousled hair fell across his forehead while he focused on the document in front of him that ignited a fire deep within my core. Despite my internal battle, I couldn't help but feel drawn to him, my heart racing with anticipation at the mere thought of his touch. What was it about this man that always did these wild things to my body? Alaric still hadn't looked at me once since I entered the room. It was as if I was invisible to him. I couldn't help but wonder what was going on in his mind. I was never in a position like this before, and the silence in the room only added to the tension. Despite my hesitation, I take a step closer, hoping to finally catch his attention. My breath hitches when he finally tilts his head in my direction. I bit my lip to hide my nervousness, though I didn't think it was possible to hide. "You wanted to see me?" I ask. "Did I do something wrong?" He dropped the pen onto the desk and stood up abruptly. "You were talking during the entire class," he finally said. His voice was deep and rough, yet it had a smoothness to it that made me shiver. Despite my best efforts to resist, I was completely drawn to him, just like always. I bit my lip, so he did notice that. My cheeks heat up as I try to search my mind for a good response. Not only today, he continues. You've been distracted during many of my classes. It's very unlike you. I frown. How do you know that if you've only just started working here? You dated my brother for a long time, Clara, he reminds me. He spoke about you highly, and quite frankly, he didn't need to. He didn't need to? I ask almost breathlessly. He nods. I could see for myself how hard-working you were. I didn't need to listen to Carter to know the kind of person you were. I saw it all on my own, Clara. That's why I know that something is distracting you. I would like to know what that is. Alaric's words have certainly left me speechless. How often has he been observing me? But what response could I give to him? He was my biggest distraction. Only him. No one else. But how could I tell him that? Clara, I really can't say. I finally blurt out. He sighs. Tell me, Clara, does this by any chance have to do with Carter and Scarlett? Are you still not over what happened? His question left me a little frustrated. Why was everyone still asking me this? Couldn't they tell that I've completely moved on from that? I was more than happy for both Scarlett and Carter. They made a better couple than Carter and I ever did. Why do you keep asking me about Carter? I demand. He's in the past. I am over your brother Alaric. I know I was very hurt before, but I have managed to move on from that, and I'm very happy that I have. Seeing Scarlett happy is all that's important to me. He doesn't look convinced, but he suddenly frowns. Did I ask you about Carter before? He raises a question. When I don't respond, he looks like he just discovered something new. Tell me, Clara, did I ask you anything uncomfortable last night? Were you in the kitchen with me? I froze. The dreaded question. He remembered, but how much about last night did he recall? Clara, he asks again when I refuse to answer him. Did I do something wrong last night? What was happening right now? Why did he think he did something wrong last night when I was the one that crossed a line? I know my cheeks are red as I whisper, no, you didn't do anything wrong. I walked into the kitchen and saw you drinking. I knew that you were intoxicated, and I also noticed that there was a bruise on your forehead. A bruise that was gone now that it had healed. I was glad to see that it was no longer there. He looks a little upset by the mention of the bruise. I never found out how you got it. I continue. You didn't want to tell me. He runs a hand down his face and turns away from me. That's not important. It isn't my business, but it still bothers me. I blurt out. I see him turning around, his gaze filled with curiosity and surprise. His deep-set eyes seem to search for something as he gazes at me. After a few seconds of silence, he asks me with a gentle voice, Does it bother you, Clara? The question takes me aback, and I pause momentarily, wondering how to respond. Why would that bother you? He continues, his eyes still fixed on mine. His tone is calm and reassuring, but there is a hint of uneasiness in his voice. There's something about his voice that sends a trail of shivers down my back. I feel like there's plenty from last night that I can't remember. He says with deep regret, Tell me more about last night. What happened exactly in that kitchen? As soon as he asked me that question, I felt my body tense. The truth was, I couldn't bring myself to come clean about what had happened the night before. The thought of admitting what I had done was too embarrassing and shameful. I knew that if I told Alaric the truth, I would never be able to face him again. However, I didn't know how long to keep it a secret from him. It seemed as though he was regaining his memory as we spoke. Eventually, he would remember everything, and I would have nowhere to run and hide. It was better to get it out in the open now than wait for him to remember and think the worst of me. I'll tell you exactly what happened if you tell me who did that to you, I say. That bruise, I know someone did it, and I think I know who it was also. However, I don't want to assume anything. So please, tell me, Alaric. He would find out either way. This way, I could get something out of it. If Nicole did this to him, I knew she was not the right one for him. I always knew she wasn't, but I kept my distance because I knew she was his wife. If it turns out that she was this horrible, then I would change my strategy. I would no longer run from my feelings for Alaric. I would fight for him instead. However, I couldn't fight for someone that didn't want me to begin with. But it wouldn't hurt to try a little. Why do you want to know that so desperately? He asks in surprise. I crossed my arms over my chest stubbornly. Why do you want to know what happened last night so badly? As he sits still, his jaw clenches tightly, and he turns to look out the window. The curtains have been drawn back, allowing the bright sunlight to stream into the room, illuminating his features. It captivated me. The light accentuates the subtle contours of his face and casts a warm glow against his hair. It's difficult not to be captivated by his beauty. He is, without a doubt, a sight to behold, and I can't help but wish that he was mine or could one day be mine. Nicole, he finally says. It's one word, but it sends my blood boiling. So I was right all along. She was the one that had done it to him. But why? What did they argue about last night? Why would she do something so awful? Alaric. I don't know why I said it. I wasn't planning on telling anyone that Nicole had hit me last night with a bloody lamp. However, for some reason, I didn't want to lie to Clara. I wanted to be honest with her about absolutely everything. I'm surprised to see how much my words have angered her. What was she so upset about? It almost seemed like she cared about me. But that was absurd. Clara would never care about me that deeply. We weren't exactly close, and Carter was the one that caught her heart in the past. She never had eyes for anyone but him. Now it's your turn, I tell her. Tell me exactly what happened last night in that kitchen. It was bothering me that I couldn't remember, especially now that I knew she was with me last night. I knew something happened. Her strange behavior confirmed that for me. Her eyes widen a fraction. Wait, she whispers. Tell me what happened. Why did Nicole do that to you? There must have been a reason. My jaw clenches as I look away from her horrified gaze. That wasn't the deal, Clara. I said I would tell you who did it in return for your detailed description of last night. I kept my part of the bargain. Why don't you do the same? She seemed nervous again. What could have possibly happened last night for her to behave like this? I still believed I did something I shouldn't have. I was usually well behaved. I didn't do things to offend anyone, but it was different with her. I acted foolishly around Clara almost all the time. I always had to prepare myself before seeing her. It was hard at times. I wanted to help heal the cut. She finally says, She did? It wasn't my imagination or a dream. It wasn't a dream or a fantasy I'd made up. She was there in that kitchen trying to help me. How much of my memories were true about last night? But did I do anything? I asked her hesitantly. She shook her head. You didn't do anything except try to stop me. No matter how hard I tried to help you, you wouldn't let me. The more she spoke about it, the more I remembered. I frown as a certain trigger brings all of the memories back to me at once. Did she? No. I swallow as I try to compose myself. She wouldn't. Clara looks at me with worry. She can tell that I just remembered something else. I knew I had to be wrong. Tell me every single detail, I say again. This time I didn't want her to skip anything out. If that memory was true, it meant Clara didn't just try to clean my wound, she also kissed it. But why would she ever do something like that? As far as I knew, Clara didn't like me. Why would she ever like her ex-boyfriend's older brother? I was too old for her. I was also her professor. She wouldn't like me in that way. I was positive she wouldn't. Her cheeks are now a pretty, bright red. It caught my attention immediately. I did something. She pauses, unable to continue. Something? I urge her to continue. I stand up from the chair and stretch my legs to shake off the numbness in them. As I move around the desk, I notice Clara's eyes following my every move. I wonder if my sudden proximity is making her nervous. Does she find me intimidating? Clara? I try once more. Is there something that you are keeping from me? As I gaze at her, I can see her eyes darting around the room as if she's looking for a way out or trying to find help of some sort. It's clear that my question has caught her off guard, and her sudden nervousness makes me wonder if I've made a mistake by asking. But I can't help myself. I need to know if my recollections of last night are accurate, and her answer is the key to unlocking the truth. Despite her apparent discomfort, I maintain a calm demeanor and waited patiently for her to respond. I don't think it's a good idea for me to answer your question, she finally says. But do you remember anything at all from last night? Do I tell her, or do I keep quiet about it? She peers up at me as she waits for an answer. From this close, I can see her delicate lips, they're soft, pink, and perfect. I wanted to put her bottom lip between my teeth and bite down on it gently. Those were not safe thoughts at all. I had to put some distance between us before I did something stupid. The door flew open suddenly, and I was surprised when I saw Nicole standing at the entrance, my jaw clenched. Ah! Clara! The silence is deadly as Nicole looks between Alaric and me. I can see the display of emotions as they move across her face, one by one, first surprise, then anger, and now disbelief. "What the hell is going on in here?" she demands. It took a while for her to even say those words to us. Alaric also seems a bit surprised to see her here. As soon as he recovers from the shock, he walks towards her and closes the door before anyone else can hear her. Since she was often very loud, I think this was a good idea. I wouldn't want anyone to hear this conversation. "What are you doing here, Nicole?" he asks as he turns to face her. She looks at him like she doesn't recognize him anymore. "Did you forget that today is my first day teaching at the academy?" she demands. "Did you already forget that you got this job for me?" He looks genuinely surprised. Was she teaching at the academy from today onwards? That was the worst possible news I could have gotten for today. Alaric runs a hand down his face before he turns to me, suddenly remembering that I was also in the room with them. "Clara, can you please excuse us?" I didn't want to leave him with her, not after what she did yesterday to him. "She isn't going anywhere until she tells me why the fuck she's in this office with you when classes are supposed to be over," Nicole screeches. "I called her in here." Alaric growls. "I had something to ask her. You're here to see me, aren't you? Speak to me instead. Leave her out of this." "I was," she hisses. "But now that I see you're in here, possibly your student, Nicole." Alaric growls aggressively. "Watch your mouth. You're talking about Clara's honor." "Her honor?" she hisses. "That girl has zero honor. You're still married to me. Are you forgetting this, Alaric?" He glares at her as though she knows something that she's pretending not to. "I asked you to sign the divorce papers last night, remember?" he growls suddenly. "You're the one preventing this divorce from happening." My eyes widen at his words. He asked her to sign the divorce papers. That's why he called her into his room last night. It wasn't because he was getting back with her. I had it all wrong last night. That would explain why she hit him. "I remember everything, Alaric," she shouts. "I told you that I'm not divorcing you." He places both hands in his pockets and rocks backward a little. He looks like he's exhausted from speaking to her when he turns around to look at me once more. There's an apologetic look on his face as he gazes at me. "Clara, please," Alaric whispers. "Please excuse us. I have plenty to discuss with Nicole." "No," I declare. "I'm not leaving." "Excuse me?" Nicole demands. "Do you think that you're needed here? Who do you think you are? He asked you to leave. Now leave." I wasn't speaking to her, and I didn't need her permission to stay in this office. I would only leave if Alaric asked me to. I walk closer to him, leaving enough space between us. He looks a bit puzzled by my behavior. Why wouldn't he be? He didn't know that I liked him, and he may never find out either. "I'm afraid that she will hit you again. I don't trust her around you," I say to him. "I don't want to leave you alone with her." "What?" Nicole shouts. Her voice is loud and a bit too much. "You told her about that? That lamp barely hit you last night. Since when do small cuts like that bother you, Alaric? Or were you trying to gain sympathy from the—" Alaric's hands tightened into fists at his sides. "Clara, we will continue this discussion later. I have something important to tell Nicole in the meantime." Even though I'm sad that Alaric dismissed me to speak to her, I tried my best to hide my true feelings from him. I didn't want either of them to see how much it bothered me. Why wouldn't he let me stay and stand up for him? I narrowed my eyes at Nicole. I wanted her to know I would not sit back and let her hurt Alaric. Even though I didn't say the words, I knew she could see the threat in my eyes. Alaric opens the door for me, and I silently leave his office. I turn back around just in time to see Nicole waving at me right before he shuts the door in my face. My jaw clenched as I tried to regain my composure. I couldn't believe that had just happened. I felt uncomfortable leaving Alaric with that bitter woman, but she was his wife. He knew her better than anyone. I also knew that he didn't need me to protect him, but he just seemed like the kind of man who would sit back and let Nicole walk all over him. She's been doing that for their entire marriage. I wanted to stay back and wait for them to come out of the office, but I knew that it was best for me to leave right away. I walk into the cafeteria with plenty on my mind. I find Jenna there waiting for me. She has a bright smile. So tell me, what happened in his office? Shh, I whisper. There were too many prying eyes around us. This wasn't the place to speak about what happened. I wouldn't be able to rest peacefully out here, not when Alaric was in his office alone with Nicole. I was worried about him. Why was Nicole so cruel to him? Why did he ever agree to marry someone like her? Hi, my beautiful readers. I would like to wish each of you a very Merry Christmas. I hope you all are blessed with good health and happiness this Christmas. May God continue to bless each of you and give you everything your heart desires. Thank you so much for all of your fantastic support for this entire year. I love you all so much. Merry Christmas once more. Nicole, you have some explaining to do. I hiss. Upon entering Alaric's office today, I had anticipated a warm welcome from him, but was disappointed. To my surprise, I found him engrossed in conversation with Clara, his apparent new interest. It wasn't the first time I had seen her around him, and it was beginning to feel like she was intentionally following him around. It was frustrating to see her continued presence. I was finding it hard to have a one-on-one conversation with Alaric without Clara interrupting or hovering around us. She was getting on my last nerve. I was seething with anger when I saw the way he was treating her. It was as if she was special to him, someone he cared for deeply. This starkly contrasted with how he treated me. I was once the only woman in his life who mattered. Now, it felt like she had taken my place, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy. Every word he spoke to her, every gesture he made, felt like a betrayal to me. It was a hard pill to swallow, and I couldn't shake off the feeling of being replaced. Alaric surprises me when he takes a few steps toward me. It's the first time he's gotten so close to me in a long time. It made me feel like I had some power over him again. However, I'm shocked when he growls low and dangerously. What you said to Clara today is unacceptable, Nicole. My lips part in horror. What the hell did he say to me? He was fighting to protect that woman once more. When would the torture end? I only spoke the truth. I snap. Have you forgotten that I am still your wife, Alaric? Why are you putting her above me? I'm not putting anyone above you, Nicole. He growls. I've let you get away with plenty in the past. I won't let you disrespect another person in my life again. Clara is not only one of my students, but she's also Scarlett's sister. She's family. You cannot speak to her in that manner. I won't let it happen again, at least not before me. I won't ask you again, so ensure it doesn't happen. Was that a threat? Did he indeed threaten me for that girl? What the hell was happening? He was so different from the Alaric that I was used to. You've changed, I mutter in shock. I never thought the day would come that Alaric would choose another woman over me. He was replacing me right in front of my eyes. I told you already that I'm not the man I used to be. He repeats, I gave you enough chances, Nicole. You need to understand that it's time for you to move on. Sign the divorce papers and make our divorce final. I don't want to ask again. I would hate to get lawyers involved in this. I don't want to make it a messy divorce. It was another threat. If I didn't sign the papers, he would find other ways to force me to sign them. I had to do something to make him think I was agreeing to the divorce. Okay, I tell him. If that's what you want, then so be it. Send the papers to me tonight. I'll have them signed and return them to you tomorrow before your first class. He looked shocked at my response. I wanted to get back on his good side. I didn't want to dig a deeper hole for myself. I had to make Alaric trust me again. I couldn't let Clara get him. He seems relieved. Thank you, Nicole. I'm happy that you agreed to do this. I didn't want to have to use force to get my way. Even after everything, I still want the best for you. I want you to be happy. I try not to be affected by his words. I didn't want to fall for Alaric. I never fell for him during our marriage. I didn't want him when he was over me. However, for some reason, now that he didn't want me, there was this strange feeling in my chest. I run a hand through my hair. I want you to be happy also, Alaric. I lie. I hope you can find someone who can make you happy again. It was another lie. Maybe he could see through my lies, but I wouldn't give up. I'll have Alaric back in my life again. I'll do anything I need to. All I need is the Alaric that was crazy about me back in my life. I needed a man who would never look at another woman. The Alaric that I knew would have never been attracted to someone like Clara. I barely knew who he was anymore. I knew I was partly at fault for this, but that's why I was willing to fix things. Now that Ace didn't want to see me anymore, I needed Alaric. I needed him. Clara, what are you wearing to the dance tonight? Scarlett asks me as she walks into my room. Jenna was right behind her. They were both already dressed and looking stunning. I was the only one that hadn't placed a dress on my body yet. However, my hair and makeup were already done. I had a beautiful red dress picked out for the night to match my bright red lipstick and hot red heels. You guys will see it in a few minutes. I answer them as I rush into the bathroom. I don't exit the room until I have everything on and am completely dressed for the dance. It was the Academy's annual dance. I was at first not interested in going, but when Scarlett told me that Alaric would be there, I knew that I couldn't miss it. I needed to be there, and I had to wear something to catch his attention again. Now that I knew he was serious about the divorce and Nicole agreed to divorce him according to my sister, nothing was holding me back anymore. The second I walked down the stairs, I could hear Jenna whistling while Scarlett clapped excitedly. "You look amazing," my sister compliments me as I do a little twirl for them. "She's right," Jenna confirms. "No one will be able to keep their eyes off you tonight." I didn't care about anyone else but Alaric. He was the only one I wanted to have mesmerized tonight by how I looked. I did all of this for him and only him. "Come on," I tell both of them. "I don't want to be late for the dance." "Yet you're the one that took forever to get dressed." Scarlett rolls her eyes. I ignore her as I race for the limousine. "In case you haven't realized, Clara, I am pregnant." Scarlett gasps when she finally gets into the vehicle. "I know. Why is she in such a rush?" Jenna asks, even though she already knows the answer to that question. She was only trying to tease me. I think Scarlett also knew what the big deal about this dance was, but she chose not to make any comments about it. When we finally pulled up to the Academy, I could feel the tension in my stomach begin to rise. "Come on, Clara," I whisper to myself, taking a deep breath as I step into the crowded room. My eyes scanned the sea of faces, searching for the one person I was here for, Alaric Prince. I was determined to succeed today. One way or another, I would have Alaric's attention. Alaric was known for rarely looking at anyone else but his wife, Nicole. I knew this, and it made my task extremely difficult. However, I had noticed something lately, fleeting glances from Alaric's piercing blue eyes. They weren't directed at me for long, but it was enough to make my heart flutter with hope, especially now that I knew he would soon be divorced and single. I took a deep breath and began to weave my way through the crowd, trying to get closer to Alaric. With every step, my heart pounded in my chest, but I continued, feeling a surge of determination. I had to catch his attention, to make him see me as more than just a face in the crowd. The women were all dressed in beautiful gowns that lit up the ballroom. Almost everyone had a partner to dance with, everyone except me. Even Jenna had a date for the dance tonight. It made me feel lonely. It's not like I hadn't gotten offers, but I turned them all down because I wanted Carter's older brother. I knew it was stupid to want someone I could never have, but I couldn't help it. As I drew closer to him, I felt my nerves struggle. What if he didn't notice me? What if he had no interest in me at all? I didn't want to think about that. The excitement and anticipation in my heart were almost palpable, and I was about to make a move. But then, all of a sudden, my attention was diverted by a figure that stepped in front of him. It was Nicole, his soon-to-be ex-wife, who had also arrived at the dance dressed to kill. It was apparent that she had come here with the sole intention of rekindling their lost romance. She was trying her best to grab his attention, but he seemed oblivious to her efforts. I bit my lip and turned right back around. I was tired of her. The closer I tried to get to him, the further apart she pushed us. I angrily storm over to the drinks section. "What would you like to have today, beautiful lady?" the server asks me. "Whatever you have to take the pain away." He quirks a brow at me before placing a cup in my hand. "Have fun." I don't even think twice before I gulp it down. I knew that Nicole would make tonight difficult for me. However, I still didn't intend to give up. Alaric, do you have the signed papers for me? I asked Nicole. I wanted to get this divorce over with. I was tired of the constant rumors about us. The sooner we were divorced, the better it would be for all of us. She nods. They're already signed, but I forgot to bring it today. I frown. Are you sure? She sighs. If I said I signed them, believe me, I did. I'll drop them on your desk first thing Monday morning. I wouldn't feel relieved until I saw those papers myself, but for now, I would believe her words. You look nice today, she says in a seductive tone. I was used to that tone by now. I knew what it meant. Her behavior today was a bit strange. She was acting nicer than usual. Is everything okay? I ask her. She frowns. Why wouldn't everything be okay? My husband just divorced me. Life is perfect. I could hear the sarcasm in her voice. All I did was give her what she wanted for months now. Why did it bother her this much? I'm about to respond when I notice a figure on the dance floor. The cheers were loud, and everyone was trying to get a picture of the girl. It didn't take me long to realize the center of attention was Clara. She was dancing, and there were horny men all around her. It was like a scene out of a horror movie. She was drunk. Clara was drunk. Someone must have messed with her drink. There wasn't supposed to be any alcohol at the dance. Please excuse me, I tell Nicole as I force my way through the jam-packed ballroom. I knew that I shouldn't be doing this. I knew my actions this time would increase the rumors about Clara and me. I didn't want to add to her torture, but I also couldn't just stand back and watch horny bastards look and touch her as they pleased. The second I reach her, I place my hand on her shoulder and spin her around to face me. Her eyes are wide with surprise when they see me. Her cheeks were flushed, and she looked sexy. Come with me, Clara, I tell her gently. Her eyes softened, and for some reason, I felt like she was sucking me in. I was mesmerized by her. She surprises me when she immediately obeys and moves closer to me. I take her hand, and she clings as I force my way through the crowd. After a few torturous minutes of her beautiful body molded into my side, we finally made it out of the building. I'm taking you home tonight, I inform her. I knew she was probably not aware of anything right now. I don't think I've ever seen her this drunk before. It worried me. She nods but doesn't say anything. Do you think you can make it to the truck? I ask her. She was swaying lightly on her heels, and I didn't want her to fall and hurt herself. She nods but falls forward a bit before regaining her balance. F it. I throw her over my shoulder as I walk with her effortlessly towards my truck. She doesn't make a single protest. In fact, this is the quietest she's ever been. I'm not sure if she's upset with my actions or if it doesn't bother her at all. I turn off the truck's alarm and open the door to let her inside. After she's positioned in the front seat, I pull the seatbelt over her body to strap her in. Her eyes are glued to me, and it takes me by surprise a bit. There was this glow in her green eyes, like the trees under the bright sun. It held me in place. I couldn't move, and damn it, I should move because right now, all I could think about was kissing her. She surprised me when she placed her finger on my forehead, right where I'd gotten the bruise in the past. It's gone, she whispers. I can hear the relief in her voice. It's been gone some time now. My breath hitches when she drags her fingers down my face to my lips. Clara, I whisper, not sure what she is doing. I wish you would smile more often, she whispers, and her words strike my heart. You always think about everyone else but yourself. I gently place my hand on her wrist with every intention of moving it from my lips. However, I don't move it. I hold it in place. I'm shocked by my own reaction to her. I do think about myself, I tell her softly as my lips brush against her fingers. She shook her head. You don't. You look so unhappy all of the time. You don't do the things that could make you happy. You carry the weight of everyone's problems, but don't try to fix your own. How long has she noticed this about me? I wasn't aware that Clara noticed anything about me in the past. I hate to see you unhappy, she confesses. I wish that I could be the one to make you smile. I stiffen. What? She wanted to be the one to make me smile. But why? Why would she want that? Clara, I don't get to finish my sentence when she leans forward and presses her lips against mine. I freeze. What was she doing?